the bone. We're just going to make when me and you pry this open, we just need something that will help us guide the break on the bone. So this incision is probably about a 1/2 inch down, and she's just riding right on the vertebrae right here. So we don't want to mess with the loin. The loin's lying up here too, so we don't want to tear up that loin. This is where we can get chops in the middle or whatever. So this is just going to be when we snap, and this might, if you're weak to the stomach, this is where it's kind of not good to watch. We might need you on the other side too, Dennis, if you want to help. But I'm going to, instead of just pulling right there, Chef, we're going to have to get our arms down in the cage so that we don't break the rib bones themselves. We're just going to lean until it snaps. There you go. Now let's stop real quick. Now, see where we separated that bone right here? If you can, there's the tenderloin right here. Let's start right here and go back up and just make another line on the inside of that vertebrae, just like on the outside.
It's still
it's a lot of bones. Yeah, I can tell when we just did that. That'll work. That'll work. We'll run it one more time, and if we can even, because we're going to all the way up there. If we can get it there. Here you go. And this is just guidelines too. It's going to help the break. You saw where we split it on the back. It allowed us to break it on her side of this animal. There you go.
I think they meant because I was stronger than you.
Yeah, you win. All right. Now that we got, let's see, one more little snap if we can. Here you go. We're right back behind here.
Still
Once you get it,
that's the
it's like a
problem.
little rock. It's all right. We can go around that. All right. So now we're going to do the rear legs same way. We're going to open them up wide as possible.
Open
we just want a flat animal to work with.
It's a boy.
You can get a better yield if you can get your
And it's frozen. And I still see the nice crystals.
That's not bad. Okay, now we can start though. I mean, don't you feel pretty comfortable when it's wide open now?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier than trying to whittle around when it's all sitting up. So the first thing we're going to do is look for secondary fat, which this right here is secondary fat. Any fat that is webbing-like, you can see through it, and it's just pieces you can pull by hand would be considered secondary fat. This fat is like caul fat or web fat that you can use for, they used to bind tureens with this, use this as a chamois on the outside of meatloaves or whatever. But nowadays, not much is rendered out of secondary fat. So I don't know what y'all are making, but you probably don't want to keep the secondary. It's a lot more gainier than the primary fat. And so all of this, whatever you can remove by hand easily is what we're taking.
And it's actually a little frozen right now, so it's a little easier to grab off.
You never want to tear the meat, whatever. So even if I say hand, make sure you're not tearing the meat when you're pulling. Go, go, go. And then I like, you know, I do it different every time, but I like to take the primals apart next, you know, get down to the main primals, which would be to take the rear legs off, and then we'll take the front legs off, or the shoulder is what it's called, and then we'll remove everything else. The first thing that you would remove on any animal would be the most expensive piece of meat before you mess it up, right? Makes sense.
Hard as that.
The tenderloins right here. So we need a boning knife, flexible, that'll bend and get right in there. And there's a bone that's going to run straight here, and you probably are feeling it underneath that fat. But the tenderloin itself is running all the way back up here on this animal, all the way up to where the back leg meets. So she's just trimming the fat, pulling it back, and she's going to just take it out. It's in a little cradle, like protected, so it's not going to be tough at all. It's the best piece of meat on this animal. Of course, Mexicans use the leg a whole lot. You know, I mean, the whole animal could be used, no problem.
Now, Chef, did you say you do or do not want this?
We're going to cut these first, and then we're going to take them legs off. So I usually get right on the vertebrae with a flexible knife. You see how I'm bending that? I'm going to stay on the bone, not to jeopardize the tenderloin at all, and I'm going to ride straight down the vertebrae, coming in and out until I get to the end of it down here. Same thing, I'm going to go all the way up. It's going to run all the way up here. The long booger on here. And as long as I'm staying on the bone, I'm not damaging the meat too bad. This is a little bony animal, so it's important that we don't make mess ups. Do you see where the connective tissue changes color? It's kind of see-through right here. That lets me know that I'm at the end of that tenderloin. And that's where the chain is on a beef tenderloin. This little thing right here. Cut it all the way out. It's just like a lamb tenderloin, very, very small. This is very similar. If you can do this, you can do a lamb. A goat and a lamb, same structure. But if I pull this up, can y'all see where it separates going into here? For those of y'all that have done the pig, this is your your skirt steak that runs right here. Your flank steak is right underneath it on the beef, cow, pig, goat, whatever. That's how always the skirt runs this way. Flank is smoother, and it's going to be underneath it running opposite. So that's like the skirt, then flank like that. So we can remove them as a team and then separate the two tissues. It helps by one tissue. And I just have to follow where the marbling is at to get it out. The line, that line. Okay? And if you see, it's similar to a beef tenderloin. You know, this is the tail end of it. This is the head right here. And that was the little chain that was running right up the side there. That's it. So we get two of them. The steak would be nice pushing on this vertebrae right here. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Very good. Very good. And it'll come all the way up to where you see it right here. And the neat thing about staying on this is the chain right here. So if she hits the meat some, it's no big deal. We're losing some tough meat.
Now, I'm still feeling, so it's going back up in here. I'm going to get under this.
You're going to come right here, and now you're dealing with the head right now, like the metro cut on a fillet. So you know it ends right here. See, there goes. Let me draw kind of a line where it comes from this side. Now, I'm pulling this away so I can see from this side.